Hello and thanks for joining us on this edition of Newsroom with me, Subiru Madina. A sad weekend for inhabitants of Nigeria's Cross River State as 100 people have been reported severely injured following an explosion that happened in an illegal oil refinery site. It is reported that amongst those injured are women, as lots of people work there illegally. As of now, investigations are ongoing to find out the owner of this illegal oil refinery company, as Premier Akbar reports. Over to South Africa, where inhabitants of the eastern province of KwaZulu-Natal now stares at an acute housing crisis following recent floods that hit that part of the country 2 weeks ago. Dozens of makeshift corrugated iron houses in the Durban township have been razed to the ground, making the poorest the first victims of the disaster. Let's have the details in the following report. South Africa's KwaZulu-Natal province is now a shadow of itself. This follows a week of heavy rains causing floods and landslides and killing at least 435 people. It did also leave thousands homeless as the poorest neighborhoods were dramatically affected, leading to an acute housing crisis. The shortage is now being experienced by low-income families that mainly live in shanty houses, locally known as shacks. The problem has been exacerbated by low incomes and lack of land. Tulisile Ntobela, 31, used to live in a flat. But when her rent went up, the unemployed mother of 5 couldn't keep up and she had to move out. 5 years ago, she built a shack on this piece of vacant land. Here, she benefits from a no-rent payment.
Usidala ukuthi sakhe lana ungcono la ngoba asirent ubothola lo 200 uyakwazi ukuthi upheke abanye abantu abasebenzi njengami nje nginezingane angisebenzi ngihlele ekhaya.
Her home was among the 87 homes that were destroyed by the floods. Previously planted with gum trees, the Nkanini area is now occupied by hundreds of tin shacks, vulnerable to the weather.
Manje bengithatha wona le mali eqole enginayo ngirenta ngayo angabe ngithenga ngayo impuphu nerice yonke into. Ingako kusihlala lana. Awukho futhi la singaphephela khona ngoba uyakwazi ukuthi uhlale lana. Uzokwenza njani ngoba bofuna nemsebenzi uyithola la ufese.
However, no one was injured because they had already taken shelter at the neighbor's home when the floor began to tremble. About 13% of South Africa's nearly 60 million people live in informal housing, according to official statistics, on land that is often undevelopable and sometimes flood-prone. Once covered with trees, the settlement of Nkanini, formed in 2016, is now dotted with hundreds of shacks, some painted in bright colors. The problem of landlessness dates back to the apartheid era that segregated Black Africans and people of color, preventing them from owning land. Stripped of land ownership, poor blacks moved to subpar neighborhoods. But nearly 3 decades since the apartheid system was abolished, land distribution and economic inequity remains unresolved. Welcome back from South Africa. Well, that brings us to the end of this newscast. Stay with us for more interesting stories. Remember, the Voice of Africa counts, and Nationals is your voice.